Welcome to the afternoon program in the main auditorium. My name is Femi Oke. I'm your MC for the rest of today. If we think about what a smart, green city of the future looks like, where in the world would we take you? Well, our keynote for this afternoon is taking us to Taipei in Taiwan. Sascha Pallenberg is a blogger. He writes a newsletter. He is also a podcaster, not a journalist, so he has no filter. When I said to him, Sascha, how would you describe your keynote? He said, dynamic. I am wondering whether you as the audience can match his energy so he can live up to the adjective for his keynote. Sascha Pallenberg, welcome to the main auditorium of the Smart City Expo World Congress.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I obviously put a lot of pressure on myself by announcing it as a dynamic keynote for now. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for this amazing introduction and to be here at Smart City Expo. I just flew in from Taipei this morning, had no coffee so far, but I'm still surviving. I'm obviously, well, not a blogger, that's what it says over here. That has a lot to do with that I also switched over to the corporate world. That was the last time I was here on the show floor, about 5 years ago in Barcelona. Because I went over to the dark side. I worked as the head of digital transformation for Daimler for 4 years, and at that time at the Mobile World Congress, we gave the opening panel together with Sascha and Nadella. So that was the very, very last time I had the honor to be here on stage. I live in Taipei for almost 16 years right now. This is obviously an older picture of myself. Taiwanese food is really good. I'm standing in front of the Taipei 101, which was the former tallest building in the world. And whenever I talk about technology, I ask the audience, does anyone know who built the Taipei 101? It's a company that everyone is familiar with. The same company, by the way, that also built the Burj Khalifa and the Petra Twin Towers. It's Samsung. Samsung Constructions is also building these crazy things over here. Why do I live in Taiwan? Oh, it's got them gorgeous, obviously, right? This is the east coast of Taiwan. It's a little bit like Hawaii. And over here you can see one of the main reasons why I also call the future of smart cities also has to be a green city. This is Elephant Mountain. Taipei City, the Xinyi district, is downtown Taipei. This way you can see it. It takes you just from the Taipei 101 to get on the first hiking trail to Elephant Mountain. It just takes you about 7 or 8 minutes from downtown Taipei to be in nature. And this is a view out of my bedroom window, a reason why I haven't left that apartment for the last 14 years or so, because every morning I have these amazing sunrises. Plus, on top of it, you can see on the left-hand side, this is a kind of elevated train of the autonomous MRT. And this is a picture from the different part. Doesn't look that fancy anymore. And I have this huge problem here. These frogs, they probably weigh about 50 pounds or so. I have no idea. They are so insanely loud. But let's talk about mobility. And I'm going to give you some videos, and I'm going to show you even some pretty old slides that are around 10 years old or so, but they are still up to date. This is a ride to the high-speed train station in Taichung, which is another metropolitan area, roughly about an hour southern of Taipei. So I got on an Uber. You arrive at this train station. You enter the train station. It looks a little bit like an airport. I definitely know airports that just look worse than this. Here's the waiting area. And there are only like 2 directions you can use on a high-speed train in Taiwan. They're all on the west coast, because that's the only way where you can build a high-speed train network. And this is how it looks like on the platform. So we use these Shinkansen trains from Japan. And by the way, the funniest part of this is, I'm German, obviously, but you can tell by my accent. In Germany, we have a little bit of a problem with trains and timetables and schedules and all of this. But when you're in Taiwan and someone tells you, I'm sorry, I'm late because the train was late, you know that they're lying. It's not going to happen, not at all. So, and this is how it looks like. This is just the economy class. And this is what I really love. This is so spacious to sit there. Especially for me, I have quite long legs. But this is also a development where I had the chance to experience it about 6 years ago for the very, very first time. I took a high-speed train from Beijing to Shanghai. That's about 1,250 kilometers. And this is how the train looks like. It's like an intercontinental flight, right? By the way, the train ride was 4.5 hours for 1,250 kilometers. And this is how it looks like in first class on the German train. And she did it because of sustainability reasons. Instead of flying these 700 kilometers, she committed to get on a first-class train and had to deal with this. I felt sorry for her. Let's go back to Taipei. This is the MRT line I'm living on. So this is an autonomous train that goes all around the city of Taipei. It's elevated, obviously, gives you a lot of space underneath. And this is how it developed. This is the Taipei MRT map in 2006. Let's fast forward a decade. This is 2016. And what about 2024? Now get ready for this. So this happened in 18 years. And when you consider how these mega projects are happening in Europe or other parts of the world, that's quite a development. Why is the Taipei MRT so successful? It has a lot to do with the payment infrastructure. And you can see this little Easy Card on the right-hand side that is using an NFC system. And what's also important is infrastructure inside of the MRT system. So at each and every train station, we have this little tables over there. People are just going to stop by, connect their laptop to it, or even want to charge their phones via USB. By the way, this photo is about 13 years old. And you can also see there's this little sign, this Wi-Fi sign. It's the free Wi-Fi Taipei. And you can connect to your free Wi-Fi. So I went to Google Maps and put a layer of the Wi-Fi hotspots of Taipei over the Google Maps. And when you look at this and you compare this to the Wi-Fi hotspot map of your telco, you might say, it's pretty much the same over here. It's because I zoomed in. When I zoom out, it looks like this. So these are tens of thousands of Wi-Fi hotspots. What's also very, very important, especially for the last mile, is our so-called U-bike system. The biggest bicycle frame manufacturer in the world is Giant, a Taiwanese company. So the various city governments thought it would be a good idea to team up with the biggest brand in this market. So these are these little U-bike stations that we have everywhere in the city. And of course, here we go again, right? I opened up Google Maps. There you can see those little U-bike stations, and those smileys tell you if there are still U-bikes available. And when you zoom out, it looks a little bit like this. Right now, we have roughly about 4.5 million rentals every month. And this has a lot to do with a new mindset in a city. When I arrived over there for the very first time in 2002, where I can't see even the end of the next block of the road because the air was so polluted by all the scooter engines. This is one of these roads in Taipei. Typically, they were like 10 lanes. The main roads, 10 lanes. In the center, you had 2 BRT lines lanes for the buses. And over here, you can see, this darker part, that was a former lane for cars. And the pedestrian walk, there's an MRT station in the upper right-hand corner. And this is how it looks like right now. So they extended the sidewalk, and they made sure that bicycles have their way. And this is how it looks like from above. There you can see also in the center the BRT line. So they heavily invested into it. The funny thing about this is, when they opened the first U-bike station, it was right next to the Taipei 101 because they thought all the tourists are coming to the Taipei 101, right? And they want to have a bicycle and want to just drive around the city with it. But they always had to come back to this U-bike station, to the Taipei 101. So no one was using it. And then they said, OK, maybe that's a little bit of a problem. So all of these stations popped up all over the city. It's about upgrading an infrastructure. And sometimes it's about a very, very rational and pragmatic approach. You don't really need the latest technologies. And the QR code is a really, really good example for this. So I went to Taichung again and wanted to rent out a bicycle. And on my way to the bicycle station, this is how it looks like over there, can you see this tree on the far left side? And there's a little sign wrapped around the tree. So I got closer and said, oh my God, there's a QR code on it. If you see a new QR code, of course, you're going to get out your phone, going to scan it. What happened? It tells me anything about this tree. I know it's kind of weird, but when I was a child, right, if I would have had the opportunity to explore my city like this, to get to know what's actually happening in there, I would have collected it. Right? This is a fundamental part of gamification. Right? It gives you all the information about this. It's about holistic approach. And our MRT station, our train station, are an amazing example for this. When you look at this one, this is the train station right in front of my house. You see the autonomous elevated train. I live over there on the far left side. And they pretty much all look the same. So here you have a bus station, real-time timetable on it. Then connected is a U-bike station, so I can immediately rent out a bicycle, maybe to fly back home, to ride back home. There's my little easy card that I can use to access all these different mobility features. And over here we have the scooter parking place. Scooters are so important for Taiwan. 23 million people, 14 million registered scooters. It's scooter heaven. I'm going to have a very, very shocking video a little bit later. There you see it again. Various scooters. This is a Gogoro. This is an electric scooter that you can rent out. They have now like 7 or 8 generations. There are various rental systems. There's another one here, the Wemo, of course, with the QR code right underneath. Get your phone in front of it, and then you can just rent it out 24/7. So let's get into the station. So the first thing you see is over here, you can leave old books, and they're going to spread it into the community. Right next to it, you can leave your umbrella. Why is that? It's raining a lot. And we also have heavy sunshines during the summer months. So it's a kind of circular system, yeah? That people are just going to leave their umbrellas over there and that you can also pick it up. You remember that one from a previous slide. Here's a USB. There's a little parcel station. But let's get into a restroom. This is the most important test of them all, because I know how terrible restrooms at European train stations can be. Right? And there are fresh plants everywhere. Sometimes you had like, new pictures, framed pictures on the wall. And last but not least, this is me on the platform waiting for the next train to arrive. Everything is just super clean and super organized. Talking about this kind of super glue in between this urban mobility, which is obviously the payment system. This is a little token for a single journey that I can take. But of course, I prefer the Easy Card because it's a prepaid system and it's heavily incentivized. This is one of these little vending machines where you get your Easy Card, and this is this little sensor zone for your U-bike system. But you can also use it on a bus. We have a flat rate for the Taipei city bus system. No matter for how long you are going to be on a bus, it's always 50 euro cent. This makes it so much easier to get through the whole process. People are just arriving right in front of the bus, get out their Easy Card, beep, beep, and off you go. And you can also use it in a cab. And, which is very, very important for Taiwanese, you can pay in your convenience store. Roughly about 8% of the global 7-Elevens are in Taiwan. And then we have Family Mart, OK Mart, Happy Mart, they're even more. Sometimes we have 7-Eleven just on the opposite side of the road, like 2 7-Elevens, so people don't need to wait for a green light to go to the 7-Eleven. So everything is happening in the 7-Eleven. Of course, you can pay with your EasyCard. And then you're going to get this, a receipt, which sounds kind of weird, a printout in a digital world. Why do you want to get it? And people really want to get it. You can see this kind of 8-digit number on top of it. You're going to qualify for the monthly lottery with it. So this helps to make sure that the retailers are doing their taxes right, because people always want to have their receipts, right? And then they're going to wait by the end of the month if their number is getting drawn in the lottery. And if this is just too exhausting for you, you can also leave your receipts in one of these boxes over here and donate it to a charity. Talking about scooter, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but this is the scooter waterfall each and every morning in Taipei City. Watch out. I don't even know how they manage it. Most of these scooters are 4-valve engines, so the pollution is not that bad anymore. But once again, something is about to happen in this country and in this city. And this has to do with this company. This company is called Gogoro. Gogoro came up, I think, roughly about 10 years ago with an electric scooter with a battery swapping system. And here's a little time lapse how this looks like. It just takes you 10 seconds to get your 2 batteries out there into the swapping station, and off you go with another 100 or 150 kilometers of range. The entry-level Gogoro costs less than $1,000 US. It's also a little bit subsidized. Plus, on top of it, just in Taiwan, we have more battery swapping stations than Tesla superchargers globally. In Taipei, there's less than 1 kilometer between 2 Gogoro battery swapping stations. But it gets better. It's batteries, it's battery stations. That means we have a lot of storage. So they're turning it into a virtual power plant right now to connect it to the grid. And this just happened in a decade, like an amazing startup that is also now branching out to other parts of the world. We need to come back to this QR code again and to this upgrade. Does anyone know here in the audience who invented the QR code? Once again, it's a company that you're all very, very familiar with. I'm old enough to still remember this commercial. So actually, it was a subsidiary from Toyota, Denso, because they wanted to store more information compared to a barcode. And this is how they invented the QR code. What we did with the QR code, and this is where you can definitely tell how technologies can also branch out into completely different solutions. During COVID, Taiwan was pretty much a safe place. Until April 2021, we only had 11 victims in the whole country. And then, out of a sudden, COVID spread out, and they tried to come up with a solution how to deal with it. So there was a press conference of the Minister of Health and the Digital Minister, and they said, okay, in the next 48 hours, we're going to roll out a QR code check-in system. Each and every store, each and every restaurant, each and every public place will have a little QR code. You're going to check in with your phone. Those check-ins are getting submitted to your telco, and they're going to store your data for about 30 days. So, and this is exactly what happened, right? So on each and every 7-Eleven or store, we had these QR codes. So if someone was tested positive or they saw a COVID cluster developing, all of these people that checked in this area got a text message. And they asked them to come over to test themselves. It's super simple sometimes. This is the part that I had to change this morning, because I flew in from Taipei and I had to change my flight in Istanbul. And we were already on the runway, and then they pulled us back and told us, there's a little bit of a problem going on in Barcelona. There's heavy rainfalls, and this also happened the previous day in Valencia. A terrible catastrophe. And it kind of reminded me of these natural disasters that we are also facing in Taiwan. Because just last week, Taiwan was hit by the heaviest typhoon in almost 30 years. Now, I lived there for almost 15 years. I roughly experienced about 500 earthquakes this year, but I've never, ever experienced any typhoon like this. So I took some videos last week, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of the impact of such storms.
God. Holy shit.
Sorry about the language.
My goodness.
Man, that was a big one. Holy crap. And it's like everywhere. So they're already cleaning everything up, as you can tell. That's what I love about Taiwan. They are so quick in this, and everything is so organized, right? It kind of looks pretty clean, right, in terms of the aftermath of such a storm. But it's also a matter of the infrastructure, right, the way they can deal with these water masses. But still, besides that, these storms are becoming more common. When I'm going to fly back by the end of this week, I might face the next typhoon, depending on which way it's going to change. This would mean that this will be the third super typhoon Taiwan experienced in just 30 days. And these extreme weather events will also become way more common for Europe. But you're not used to it. Your cities are not used to it. Your infrastructure is not ready for it. So how could we come up with a system of predicting, and the prediction of these extreme weather events is just so important, and that's exactly what we saw, what happened in Valencia and also around here in Barcelona. So I'm going to show you a little video that I saw during the NVIDIA keynote from Jensen Huang in June at Computex in Taipei, which is the biggest computer show in Asia. And he tells you a little bit about a new system and a new supercomputer they call Earth 2 that they are developing right now.
On Monday, the storm will veer north again and approach Taiwan. There are big uncertainties regarding its path. Different paths will have different levels of impact on Taiwan.
Imagine a world where we can predict the future. Digital twins are virtual models that mirror the real world. And let us see the future to better understand the impact of today's actions on tomorrow's world. Meet NVIDIA Earth 2, a digital twin that uses the power of AI, physical simulations, and computer graphics to make weather and climate predictions at a global scale. CoreDiff is NVIDIA's generative AI model that was trained on WRF numerical simulations to generate weather patterns at 12 times higher resolution, from 25 kilometers to 2 kilometers. This is a monumental leap in regional weather prediction, and remarkably, CoreDiff AI does this 1,000 times faster and 3,000 times more energy efficiently than traditional physical simulation methods. Here in Taiwan, the Central Weather Administration is using these models to forecast typhoon landfalls with more precision. But we are not stopping there. The next frontier is hyperlocal forecasting down to tens of meters, where the effects of city infrastructure are taken into account. CoreDiff AI is also being trained using high-resolution data, such as that generated by Palm, a physics model that simulates atmospheric and oceanic boundary layers. When combined with weather simulation wind fields, it can model the airflow around buildings. We expect to predict phenomena such as downwash, where strong winds funnel down to street level, causing damage and affecting pedestrians. NVIDIA Earth 2, an excellent example of a digital twin that fuses AI, physics simulations, and observed data, can help countries and companies see the future and respond to the impact of extreme weather.
So this is an absolute game changer. What he told us before is like the latest supercomputers that are predicting weather events like this are going down to about 20 kilometers the way they can predict it. Now they're talking about a tenth of a meter. We're getting into centimeters. It's going to be faster, it's going to be more efficient, and it's going to change the way we're going to look at these events. And it's definitely going to change the way we're going to protect our cities and our citizens from events like the ones that we face with Dana. Last but not least, I want to share an email of Ugo Valenti with you. And once again, it's a QR code, so you better scan the QR code. It leads you to a website here from the Smart City Expo, where all of you guys can contribute with whatever you can contribute with, your experience, your wisdom, your solutions, your technology, your money, to make sure that we come up with solutions on how we're going to help these regions in the future. Thank you so much for having me today. I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of this week, and maybe going to see you next time. Stay safe. Thank you.
Sascha, take a seat for a second. You travel a lot. So when you travel and you go to different cities, what do you look out for and to say, okay, that's a smart green city? What jumps out at you?
Accessibility.
Huh.
For the very first time in about 10 years or so, I came to Europe for all of summer, for about like 12 or 13 consecutive weeks. When I got back home to Taiwan, it was like, I see way more disabled people on our streets, on the sidewalks, in the train station. And this has nothing to do that the percentage of disabled people in the Taiwanese society is higher. No, it has to do with infrastructure and accessibility, that people can get anywhere. And a smart city is not only smart in terms of technology and digitalization, or how green it is, it's also about how accessible it is for all of the citizens.
Because we always leap to tech, digital, but what you're talking about is empathy.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And empathy isn't new, empathy is old, right?
You know, I think most of the technologies that you saw, except of the latest video from NVIDIA,
sure,
is sometimes decades old, but it just takes so long for us to implement them, because I truly believe that we are always looking for this super new deep tech and disruptive thing that is going to solve all of our problems. It's not. It's about sometimes the decade-old technology that we have to implement in a holistic way.
Do you feel, and I don't want you to brag, but please brag, that you can see the future and you can see what our green smart cities could be like in, say, a decade from now? Do you already see that?
There's no way that you can make predictions anymore, especially because of the way AI had an impact on each and every technology and each and every industry so far. If I would have ever predicted, like 2 years ago, even though that I'm very, very familiar with expert systems from the 80s, you know, the basics and the fundamentals of what we now call transformers and generative AI platforms, I would have never, ever predicted any outcome like this. So I don't even know what's going to happen in 12 months from now. But I truly believe that this is going to open us to completely new possibilities. Technology will change the world, and I think what we saw from NVIDIA, even though that I'm talking a lot about NVIDIA, I'm not getting sponsored by them, don't get me wrong. I just love what they are doing. I truly believe that this is going to change the world.
If we took you to any other city in the world, it can't be Taipei, and we would drop you there and you had to live there, where would it be?
Oh my God, that's a...
I'm not familiar with that neighborhood.
That's a good one. When you live, when you live in the tropics,
yes,
for that long,
along the equator.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I like the tropics.
Right.
But every while and then, I also just want to get out. I want to experience seasons. But here's what's even more important. It doesn't matter what city it's going to be. It matters about what matters are the people. You can live in the worst place on this amazing planet when the people are nice and welcoming and friendly and supporting each other, and they're building up this kind of community approach. You're going to love it. You can also live in paradise. If the people are goddamn idiots, right, you're just going to hate it, because at the end of the day, a beach is a beach is a beach. Right? But the people will still be around that are the idiots. So I would prefer, to live at a place where you can gather and mingle with warm-hearted and forward-thinking and positive people that are creating an inclusive society.
Thank you for creating that vibe for us this afternoon. Main auditorium, our keynote speaker, Sascha Pallenberg.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Sascha, let me walk you.
Thank you.
Walk you to the ramp. Thank you very much. Don't get lost.